was our Paula Hancock's reporting there. Well, Kimberly Dozier joins me now from Washington. She's CNN's global affairs analyst and a senior national security correspondent for the Daily Beast. Good to have you with us.
Good to be here, Linda.
It appears we're seeing a dramatic policy shift from Trump as a candidate to Trump as president. He said NATO is obsolete, now it's not. China's a currency manipulator, now it's not. He won't get involved attacking the Syrian regime, now he is. Do you believe President Trump is being led in a different direction? Is he getting a crash course in global politics?
It's a little bit like the crash course theory. Look, he had different people advising him during the campaign. He had Lieutenant General Mike Flynn, a retired Army general who has now had to resign from the National Security Advisor position, Senator Jeff Sessions, who is now running the Department of Justice, and New York former official Rudy Giuliani. Now he's got Jim Mattis as his Secretary of Defense and Rex Tillerson and as his Secretary of State. He meets with them regularly on an informal basis. And from what I understand from administration officials across the spectrum, he is learning from these men in these conversations in a very informal way, just like he used to as a businessman. And you're seeing some of that in the policies that are getting enacted. The problem is that often his tweets still contradict some of the quiet, reassuring things that these top officials are telling their allies overseas. So I've spoken to diplomats, ambassadors who say, look, I'm hearing one thing from my direct American counterpart who's saying, don't worry, it's great behind the scenes. This is what we're going to do. But then I see another thing coming out of this fractious, apparently divided White House, and I don't know who to believe. So what Vice President Pence has to do right now is go on essentially a reassurance tour and tell people behind closed doors, this is where we're going with these policies. You can trust us. Don't look out here at all of the outside sort of animus and outside back and forth with the tweets. Listen to what we're saying behind the scenes.
And looking at those tweets and some of the words we've heard from President Trump over the last few days, there is a bit of a war of words with North Korea right now. If North Korea carries out yet another missile test, what options are on the table? Sanctions don't seem to be working.
Well, there are two schools of thought on what's going on and why North Korea didn't launch some sort of nuclear test today. One is that China encouraged them to cool things down, that China, after having seen President Trump launch strikes in Syria, while during a dinner with the Chinese premier, that they've told Korea, really, we don't know where this guy is going to go. Don't push him. The other school of thought is that North Korea is a logical actor and it understands it can do it can launch a nuclear-tipped missile once, and that it's got to play this out and launch it, do a new test at a time of its own choosing for maximum effect and maximum surprise.
You mentioned China and China's influence. We know that China is North Korea's biggest trading partner. How much sway does it have when it comes to North Korea?
Well, of course, the Chinese leader told President Trump, as he related in a Wall Street Journal interview, that they don't have all that much influence over North Korea. But look, at this point, they're the one North Korean ally that the world can turn to and say, please try to put some pressure on them. And you have to think that North Korea, facing its constant food shortages, and it has had some, as far as U.S. intelligence has been able to tell, some hardship because of the previous economic sanctions. It doesn't want more sanctions, so it's walking the line between acting like a tough nation that might strike back at any moment and wanting to invite behind-the-scenes negotiations that ease up some of the hardship on its people and bring them back into the world of nations and not an outcast as they are now.
Kimberly, President Trump, of course, basks in glory. He loves being praised and being popular. He has been getting some commendable feedback for his military action, both here in America and also internationally. Do you think that could possibly lead to more?
Well, he's been getting commendable feedback from the conservative crowd, especially the George Bush-era Republicans who wanted to see action like this during the Obama administration. The counter comment to this, the criticism, is that the action doesn't seem yet driven by an overarching strategy or policy. President Trump hasn't unveiled his ISIS strategy that is still being fleshed out at the Pentagon and the State Department and the White House. He hasn't explained what his North Korea program overall is going to be. So what's happening is that the American public and policymakers in a place like Washington, D.C. are saying, you know, we would like to cheer on what you're doing, but you haven't explained to us where this is going to take us. What is the end result? What does victory look like for you? Right now, it looks like he's just reacting to other people's provocations rather than taking action as part of an expressed plan for stability for the United States when it comes to enemies overseas.
All right, Kimberly Dozier, we'll have to leave it there. Great to get your analysis on all of that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, still to come here on CNN Newsroom, the last rallies before Sunday's critical referendum in Turkey. Why a divided country sees security and democracy at stake. Plus, preparing for Easter at the Vatican. The vigil will begin soon. We will have a live report from Rome.